Hey there, we are going live on TikTok. Hey there. So we'll see how this goes. Pam Perry, we're at Michigan Founders Fund. Generator as well. In the generator. Yep, in the generator lab. At New Labs in Detroit. And we are going to be doing it. I don't know if you can see it. I might not be paying total attention to you because I'm paying attention to the people in the actual room and on the Zoom. But we are going to do our best. All right. So you can let me know when we can go. You ready to go? Yep. Okay. Yep. All right. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Michigan Founders Fund. Hashtag MFF. MFF, and I did say the other F too, so okay. I am Pam Perry, affectionately called Dr. Pam. I have an honorary degree. I've been doing this for a while, probably 35 years. I'm gonna put it out there. I'll be 65 in May and proud of it. Any baby boomers in here? Okay, I'm the only one. Gen Xers? Okay, you got the Gen Xers right behind you.
You are not alone.
Is that Sherry? I don't even know.
Yep, that's Sherry.
Yes. I saw you on there. I was like, okay, that must be Sherry Washington. How are you? Yes. So she knows we are the baby boomers. So I am so excited to share with you all because one young lady said she's been following me for a long time. So, ooh, yeah, I'm old. But I actually started on MySpace. Who remember MySpace? Right, wow. And the reason why I got on MySpace, I'm a publicist by trade. And so I could tell that, and I'm always like this, I could tell trends were changing and that it wasn't just directly, you can get in the newspapers, you can get in magazines, TV and radio, but there was this other media called social media. Now all my PR friends were like, girl, what are you doing on that Facebook and MySpace? I said, well, no, we got to figure this out because there's a new generation coming up that don't read newspapers. They don't read magazines. They don't watch TV like we watch TV. I said, there's another way. So anyway, so I started with that and became pretty savvy with it. About 2005 or 7, I realized Pam Perry PR really was PR 2.0. PR 2.0, meaning that you can have your own newspaper by having a blog. You can have your own magazine by doing an online magazine. You can have your own TV show by YouTube. You could do your own radio show by
recording in progress.
By podcasts, which is what we're doing right now. We can do all the things that we want to do because the gatekeepers are basically gone. You can go direct to consumer. So I worked primarily when I started out with just authors and speakers, subject matter experts. In order to sell a book, they had to do what we call go to book signings and go to bookstores. They were going to places like Borders. Gone. They then decided that we've got to figure out this online thing because books are being sold more on Amazon than in Barnes & Nobles or any of these other big black bookstores. So a lot of the literary people who had these big publishing deals were then being shifted and say, okay, we're not sending you out on book signings anymore. You got to figure it out yourself online. And a lot of them didn't know how to do it. They were like, what? Okay, I'm gonna go here to TikTok. Hey, TikTok. And they were like, I don't know how to do it. So I started teaching a lot of my authors on how to get on Facebook, how to market themselves online, how to set up LinkedIn profiles, how to set up a blog talk shows, how to create a video. Even though I was at the time figuring out, you can't be afraid to turn on the camera. So you can see right now, I have the camera on. Just say, hey, this is TikTok Live. TikTok Live. You can't have a TikTok Live unless you have 1,000 followers. And I don't know why that is. Sometimes I have these little rules to make it so that everybody wants to get it. So we're on TikTok Live. I like TikTok Live because I can take the download and put it up on YouTube because not everybody's gonna watch TikTok Live. But if you do watch TikTok Live, you know what the main thing that they do on TikTok Live, right? It's like QVC.
Yeah.
They sell a bunch of stuff. They sell a lot of stuff. So there is money to be made by amplifying your message through PR and how to win media and boost your brand. Now, a while ago, having a brand was not that important. Come on in, come on in. Having your own brand was not a thing. You could do your job, do your work, sell your stuff, didn't really matter who knew you. I think if the change really happened, there's a guy by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. Anybody know Gary Vaynerchuk? Gary V. About 2005 and 7, his parents had like a liquor store and in New York, and he was in charge of basically marketing, trying to build this business up. And he decided that one day he was going to open up his camera and talk and do this thing called Wine Library TV. That's the first thing Gary did. Wine Library TV, he would just basically take wine and say, okay, well, we're going to have this wine and we're going to pair it with steak, or we'll pair it with chicken. But hey, if you like the wine, you can pair it with Cheerios. It doesn't matter. You're just going to drink the wine. So it became where Gary became very popular on Twitter, on Facebook, all the different places. But do you know he posted for a year before he actually got any traction? With nothing. Yes, you remember, he wrote a book called Crush It. I would admit, I would have all of you all get his book. It's a very small book, probably less than 100 pages. Gary is a video guy, not really a literary guy. But he talked about how he crushed it online. He's now a multi-million-dollar with VaynerMedia, representing all of the things. But all he did was open up his camera. And that's really what we're going to talk about today, about really how to amplify your brand by opening up your camera so that people can actually see you. So the next arrow.
The back and forth arrows. The up and downs.
All right, now it's not working. All right, so this is a video here, kind of intro video. Brittany is helping me out here.
Or a speaker, or a subject matter expert, wanting more exposure for your brand? Well, here's the secret. Get the media talking about you. Want to know how to get quick media coverage? Get media coverage so you can amplify your reach. Want to know how to get 500 plus media placements and 400 million audience reach? Dr. Pam Perry is offering guaranteed PR coverage with her quick media coverage PR packages. Dr. Pam Perry is a master publicity strategist that shows speakers and experts how to get seen, get heard, and get noticed so they can get paid. If you want immediate guaranteed publicity, go to quickmediacoverage.com. That's quickmediacoverage.com now.
All right. So what I gave everyone was the magazine that I started about 8 years ago.
Or a speaker, or a subject matter
Okay, we'll go to the next
expert,
one.
wanting more exposure for you.
All right.
Let me go back. We went too far.
So what I gave everyone was the magazine I started 8 years ago. I started it from the standpoint that a lot of speakers, a lot of people like you, subject matter experts, wanted to be cover stories. But there were only so many magazines that were allowing cover stories, so I decided to create my own. You can own your own media. This is my own media. It's online as well as the physical. And the issues that I gave you were two people that talk about branding. One was Sade Adu, Dr. Sade Adu. She does a conference called Girl, Your Brand is a Big Deal. And it is. Your brand is a big deal. And then the other one is Yolanda M. Smith, and she does an event called Brandfluence. And really she talks about branding and personal branding. Personal branding is important because people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. There's a lady by the name of Melissa Butler. Anybody know Melissa Butler? She started here with the Michigan.
Yeah, she actually did the generator program
Yes.
that we're doing right now.
Yes.
Before
And
she went on Shark Tank.
Before she went on Shark Tank. And the lip bar. She was in Detroit, she had the lipstick and all that kind of stuff. but she's a personal brand. Even though she owns the Lip Bar, people buy that particular one or seek it out because they've heard Melissa's story. And so that's the same thing with the founder. You all have a story. People will be attracted to your product, but they really will want to know, like, and trust you as the person. Yeah, you have it there. That's it. And it's lipstick. I mean, you could buy it. You could buy lipstick anywhere, but you buy it based on really the beliefs and the values of the Lip Bar. Yes.
And I want to add to that, that is the same for founders, tech founders. That's how you get the attention of a lot of investors, is telling your story, whether it's through your social media or in the publications that Pam can get you into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is one of the things. So Yolanda actually won, her company is called Branding for Success, the Inc. Power Partner Award. She was so excited about that. So there's things that really get you out there and get known. One is obviously media, traditional media. One is social media. Another is really writing a book that will get you into media. But the other thing is awards. So if there's anyone who's under 40, any under 40 people in here, please, before you turn over 40, there's so many under 40 awards that you can apply for. There's one particular client I'll talk about in here. She was 39 and was applying for this under 40 award that Cranes has every year. So awards are a big deal to really get you known. People really want to know, like, and trust you. So you want to go into awards. Once you won the award, we did a press release. Press release got picked up by TV. So why PR is needed? It does build the visibility. Social media, you can post all day. And how many people know that you can get caught up in a rabbit hole with it? But it's something about when somebody says something about you versus what you're saying about yourself all the time on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And you know, Instagram, any of these things can be fake, right? How about that? But when it's vetted through the media, it has a different kind of a view. So that's why media is important. Magazines, newspapers, podcasts. When you're on a podcast, you're very personal in someone's ear. I listen to podcasts all the time, and over a period of time, I feel like I know that person because I've listened to them for half an hour. Where if you're on a reel, it's only a minute, not so much. You kind of have to consume a lot of content. What you want people to do with your brand is to consume your content, hear your voice, watch you over time, and understand what you are about, whether they're watching your videos, whether they're reading your blog. If you don't blog, I would suggest you blog. Blogging is what traditional media loves because they can read your content, and out of that content, producers can create stories. So blogging is not passe, it is what that main staple is, what media really says whether you're serious or not. You can even take, if you blog, how many people in your blog? So how many? Well, online blogging, yeah, I guess it's really like blogging as a journal, but if you're writing a blog, you could take your blog posts and turn them into what?
Press release. Videos.
A book.
A book. Oh, you
You know, it's like you're blogging on a regular basis. So take your top 12 blogs, throw them in ChatGPT, tell them to expand it out, and see what you get. You'll have a book. It's your content. You train chat on your voice and take those 12 blog posts and tell them to expand it to make a book. That's one reason why. You can't really do this so much with video, but if you have a blog, you can do it with your voice. So that's one of the things. And then credibility is currency. Visibility leads to bookings. So as a founder, the other part of PR that you're going to need to amplify your brand is speaking. So speaking is people's worst nightmare. Some of them, like, oh my God, I'd rather go to the dentist than speak. She's over here laughing. So how many people enjoy speaking? Okay, how many people don't? Okay, and that's fine, most people don't. So the best place to learn how to speak in front of people is Toastmasters. If you've never heard of Toastmasters, it's free. And I love Toastmasters because you go there every week or whatever and you test your speeches, or they have table talk which you can do extemporaneous. but they count your ums. So if we were in a Toastmasters right now, and you would be listening to me, you'll be listening to my message, but they also listen to your diction, they watch your voice quality go up and down, they look at how you use the stage, they count your ums. So when I first started Toastmasters, I think you speak for like 20 minutes. I think I had like 40 ums. How many ums do I have now? Exactly, because when someone points it out, you stop it. That's the thing. And so a lot of times when you're going to Toastmasters and you're doing it over and over again, they will tell you what you're doing wrong because you can't see the picture because we're in the frame. So Toastmasters is a really, really good thing. So you want to make sure that you speak. So we're talking about social media, traditional media, awards, and speaking. All right? Where do you speak? A good place to speak, and I say this for every speaker, is to kids. Career days. You will be surprised how, if you call your old alma mater, say, I'd like to come and speak to your whatever about career day, what you're doing now. The kids will let you know whether you're on point or not. Kids will pull the energy out of you because if you are, like right now I'm talking to adults, so adults are different. They're gonna be polite. Kids will yawn, they will fall asleep in your face, and it's like, ooh, I gotta spice it up because, so I think any speaker, Lisa Nichols is one, I know a lot of other speakers that have been on the cover, the ones that speak to kids that were trained in front of youth are the best speakers. So go to your old high school, go to your old college, go to your old middle school, career days, learn how to speak and be impactful because kids will definitely pull it out of you because they are not playing. They're like, you know what, I didn't pay for this, I don't want to, you are boring. Media features build your credibility and supercharge. So this particular one, Tamara Chapman I was telling you about, she was 39 and was in a transition to leave her corporate job and really do her business full time. But she wanted to leave her business or her corporate job on top and not just like, oh, I left, I'm gonna start a company. So she was 39, she wanted to win the 40 under 40 from Cranes. And she did. She won that, and then once she did that, she got on the roll. She won Visionary Entrepreneur Award, Enterprising Women Award, keynote speaker. It started. And what's interesting about the 40 under 40 award is that with Cranes, she had actually passed the deadline. And it was a situation, this is why you hire a publicist, because a publicist is the person that goes to bat for you. She missed the deadline by maybe 3 or 4 days. I looked up who was in charge of the awards, and the person happened to go to Michigan State. I found that out from LinkedIn, nosy like that. And she went to Michigan State. And I called that person, I said, hey, whatever the person was, I says, you know, you had that 40 under 40 award, the awards, da-da-da-da-da. I said, she just missed it. She's gonna be 40 next year. It's gonna be too late. She went to Michigan State. Do you know her? He happened to know her. And that's how she got in. So it pays to really do some research because it's not always what you know, but who you know, right? And he knew her, so that actually worked out. So she won, and she was given an award and all that kind of stuff. Her business now is doing millions of dollars. It is called Storehouse in a Box. Storehouse in a Box really packages up gifts, subscription boxes. That's what she does, subscription boxes. And she's done it for a lot of organizations. AKAs is one of them. Anybody have an AKA in here? They'll get a pink and green box every single month. Hundreds of thousands of people making millions of dollars. That's just one particular box that she does. And she also just recently launched a literary imprint with Penguin Random House as well. And that was because she did a literary box with Michelle Obama's book that she mailed out in the subscription box. And Random House saw how around how successful that was, and she kind of negotiated, her background as a lawyer, negotiated, that helped too, how to do her own imprint. So that's one of the things. So she leveraged local media, maximized all the things about what she was doing, and she's telling stories. Stop me at any point in time for questions. So in addition to that first thing from corporate being hidden, right, because she's working in as a corporate attorney, working for Ford, really doing her business on the side. How many people are doing their business full-time and on the side? Are you doing it full-time?
Full-time.
Full-time, okay. So she was actually doing hers on the side for a couple of years, and then she broke out and started doing it full-time. But once she started doing it full-time, she got in Forbes Black. She's on the advisory team for that. She's part of WPO, which is Women's Presence Organizations. Those are, you can be a part of WPO when your revenue is over $1 million. And then all the other things. She's been in Ebony, Inc. She won Entrepreneur of the Year with EY. Obviously, she has a lot of things. This particular picture right here is her doing the Zoom at that particular time when she was doing it with Michelle Obama with the book signing. It was a virtual book signing there. So anyway, in terms of why media matters, really media matters. Is Sherry still on the Zoom? Sherry, can she hear us?
Yeah.
Sherry Washington. You know this lady?
Which one are you pointing at?
Geneva. Dr. Geneva, can you see it
On the screen.
on the screen?
I know.
Yeah, I mean, your slide is showing, and I know her, yes.
So Dr. Geneva is a baby boomer like us as well. She basically left a career where she'd been in for many, many years and needed to establish a new brand. Now the problem of when you're in a business for a long time, that's like me, I've been in PR for like 30 plus years. If I want to do something different, it's like, but they're always going to see me as that PR lady, right? So she was a nonprofit lady, she was over United Community Services and this and that, but she wanted to do something different. So over the period of time, she wrote some books, Living Life Over 40, she did a tips book on leadership, she did a memoir, she didn't like doing photos and definitely didn't like doing video. But she did like speaking and mentoring, so Dr. Geneva Speaks is her website.com. One of the things to help break her out of the shell of not wanting to put yourself out there is we put her in a pageant. She was like, no way am I gonna do it. And the pageant was called Miss Fit and Fine, Miss Black Fit and Fine for women over 50. She'd never been in a pageant her whole life. Well, she won. Well, at that point, she got out of her shell. You can see she now loves doing pictures, right? She loves doing pictures. She's on television. So when you work with a publicist, they kind of see where you need to kind of go in order to make your next step. Maybe writing a book, maybe speaking, maybe joining Toastmasters, maybe doing a pageant. There's pageants for men as well. But those are the kind of things that kind of help expand it, right? Those are the things. So how to succeed on television. And what she did, she had a really, really great story. She was camera ready at this point in time, building up her relationships. She knew a lot of these people. And repurposing all of her media clips, whether it's from CBS, ABC, or Fox, and putting them on her website. But not only that, but sending out the links to your prospective clients or to prospective investors, because they will think that's a big deal. So whenever you have any kind of media, think of it like, okay, you're gonna get accolades from your friends, your family, that's all good, they're gonna applaud you, but make sure you send them to people who you want to fund you. That's really the whole point. So you could do all of this, but the whole point of it is like, okay, the friends and family, that's fine, but they're not gonna fund you. They're gonna applaud you. We wanna send them to the funders to show I was on this network, I was in this magazine. Send them your book. If you write a book, send them that book so they know you and get to fund people who have a brand, someone who they know that is really making a difference and making an impact. So that's a little bit about Geneva. The other thing is nail radio interviews. Radio is not dead. There's Sirius XM. There are, I have a client that's on WURD, which is out of Philadelphia. Even though it's out of Philadelphia, it is still streamed online. So it's WURDradio.com. So you can hear her every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. online, even though the station is in Philly. And she does that every day. So making sure that you have a hook, radio, and I love WWJ, 24 hours, 7 days a week, radio. They have to fill that news hole. The only way they're gonna fill that news hole is by going online, looking for stories, or they're pitched. They would prefer to be pitched because now it's easy. It comes to them in the email. How do they like to have it? They like to have like why this story is important to their listeners. They want to know what you would talk about. They want to know, maybe give them a link to a longer story, a long form story, a print story, and you're on the air. You're on the air maybe 5 to 7 minutes, but 24/7, they are looking for news stories. Now, they can write about the same thing all the time, which is not good for them because then they would get fired because their boss is like, can you find any other stories? So that's why we are their source for them. You are a subject matter expert for them. So in terms of listening to other news on the station, you can fit in with what that reporter does. So this is part of my journalism background, just really understanding news. When you're listening to the news, you should be listening for obviously what's going on, but listen to how you can fit in with the news. What's trending? What's trending right now is this whole thing about DEI and all that kind of stuff. So if you have anything that has to do with that, you want to piggyback on it, or they call it newsjacking on that story, so that you can add your voice to that. That is the quickest way to get immediate exposure. You'll find that if there's a major story that's trending, that in order to piggyback on it or to newsjack on it, you would just send out a pitch, just a short email pitch. You can find them on LinkedIn, which is where I prefer. Most people spend a lot of their time. Media is on LinkedIn and Twitter, but mostly LinkedIn. But you can find their name and their email on LinkedIn and send them a pitch. So a lot of people say, well, I don't like to spend a lot of time watching the news. News is so depressing. I don't really like it. The quickest way to get the cliff notes of what's really trending in the news is to watch the late night shows and the monologue of some of the people who, Jimmy Fallon, of what they're talking about. They'll usually tell you what's trending in the news, but they'll tell you in a funny way. Bless you. So if you don't want to watch the news and become a news junkie, watching it 24/7, to at least find the cliff notes, listen to the monologue in the evening. Anybody ever heard you tell you that before?
No.
That's a great way to really know what's trending, because that way you'll know what you can piggyback on in newsjack. Because, and without having to consume all the negatives, you know, it could be depressing. I mean, after you watch CNN for a couple of hours, you're just like, oh my God, everything's going to hell in a handbasket. But they will actually make it so that you'll know what's trending, and they'll tell you in a funny way. So I like radio because it's conversational. I actually worked for a radio station for about 5 years too, WMIC. So the other thing is magazines. You all got a copy of the magazines. I love magazines. I love magazines at my house. If you were to throw a match into my house, magazines, we would be bombed, okay? It's just like I have so many magazines from the 80s all the way up. And my husband is like, what are you doing? I love magazines. I love vision boards too, so I always use them for vision boards and that sort of thing. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I subscribe. I'm a subscriber, so I subscribe to magazines. Magazines are a way, they're so specialized. There's a magazine for everything. There is, give me an industry and I can tell you if there's a magazine. Energy. Oh my God. You know there's a lot of energy magazines.
Med Ed.
What is it?
Med Ed. Medical education.
Yes, yes. And a lot of education there's a magazine called Education Tech, Ed Tech. And it's for educational, technical things. I mean, they're so specialized. But if you are in that field, you are a super fan of that magazine. So sometimes people will say, I want to get on GMA or CNN, I want to get on. If you're in your industry's magazine, You are the big fish in that small pond. So find the magazines in your industry or the organizations that you are a part of, that you're connected to. They should have a newsletter. If they don't have a newsletter, they have an email list. Make sure that you connect with them, because it could be something as simple as like, hey, I'd love to be a sponsor of your newsletter. Down at the bottom, where you can put your banner down there and people can click to go through it. If they're in your industry, energy, med tech, what's another industry?
Politics.
Politics. Politics, you know, what area of politics? I mean, there's environmental, what area?
We're doing like just civic engagement at large.
Voting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that is, so it's not just politics, but in terms of like what area that is, finding those kind of things. I mean, just simple things. I just saw Reverend Anthony and Hester Wheeler on PBS not too long ago. I think NAACP is celebrating 162 years or something like that. And they were talking politics. And they were talking about voter registration and the whole fallout of what happened in the last election. So finding your magazine, finding the niche of that, and repurpose that content. Because once you have one media, it can go to the next media. You can pitch a magazine to a radio station, pitch that radio interview to a TV station. Now what you can't do, I guess you could, but it's very unlikely if you were on CBS to pitch Fox, because now it's competitive. But you can take a CBS interview and maybe pitch a magazine, or you can take a radio interview and pitch it to a TV station. But not the same, even the magazines. If you were featured in Essence, you can't necessarily pitch Ebony because they see each other as competitor. Now they can probably see it, and they probably already are scoping on what their competitors do. So you don't have to pitch it, because they'll probably see it, and if they want to interview you, then they'll one up whatever they saw. But don't pitch them. It's kind of like saying to someone, na 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 na. You know, I was on ABC, now I'd like to be on your station. And they're like, the producer's like, no, I'm fine. If you were already on ABC, you don't need to be on NBC. They're people just like everybody else. So you want to make sure that it makes sense, and you're not showing that, you know, I told this to a client the other day, that you have to pick one. If you're going to have an event and you have a host from ABC, the affiliate, you're not gonna have NBC come and cover that, because the host of it or the MC of it is from ABC.
So how do you determine who's a rival, who, right? Like,
Just in terms of the same genre.
okay.
Just, yeah, all TV stations, you know, you got ABC, CBS, Fox, whatever, CW, they're all the same one. So they're rivals. So what's not a rival would be like the Free Press. So if you were on Fox, then you could send it to a reporter at the Free Press or the news.
Okay,
But if you were in the Free Press, you can't send it to the news.
gotcha. Are you saying it's better to not approach them?
Right, don't
But
approach.
signal them somehow?
Right.
Okay.
With that particular, like you wouldn't, like you're saying, you wouldn't send an interview you did on CBS to NBC, but you could send a radio
Yes,
that you did
to
with
WJR.
WJR.
Yes, yeah, or WJR, exactly. But the Free Press and News, no.
Free.
But the Free Press and maybe Oakland Press, it would be okay.
So you're saying it's really good to leverage media that you've already completed.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
to another outlet
another
that's
outlet.
not competing with that main one that you were on. Yeah,
Do you,
that's-
so I'm assuming that you would go to the one that you ideally want to get on first.
Exactly.
Do you embargo, like, that story?
I mean, it's not, they used to be a thing, now we got the internet, so they can find stuff out. But I would say probably magazines more so
Okay.
than I would embargo things, versus like daily radio, TV, that kind of thing. Because as soon as something gets out, it's like it doesn't matter. There was a story, New Year's Day, I believe it was, where it was a situation where a man was upset with someone at a gas station and he beat him up with a Mountain Dew pop. I don't know if you all remember that. That was just like so crazy to me. The man was like complaining that he charged him tax for some pop, and he was like, no, I'm just charging you a deposit, and he got really upset. at the person behind him who made a comment, and he hit him in the head with a Mountain Dew. Well, it went on all stations, all across. That was fine, but it was like within minutes, but not the next day. The one station did a 1-up where they actually went to the person who was accused of doing the wrong, went to his house. But for the most part, no, there's no embargo because everything travels so fast. Magazines typically have a longer lead time, so that you can't do that.
So for founders that are in tech, what would a successful PR campaign look like, and what would be the KPIs for that?
Ooh, TechCrunch. Anything in that tech space, there's so many tech magazines that if you could be the rock star in all those tech areas. So tech is not my area, but I know TechCrunch is. TechCrunch is like the CNN for technology, you know, or even Business Insider or Yahoo Finance or things like that. But the KPIs are like how many impressions or backlinks you get to go to your website so that people can inquire. PR is a lead generator, so it's not going to be your sales, it's not going to be your marketing. PR is your brand awareness and it is your lead generator. The sales of anything is on you to leverage it to mail it out to your prime prospects, your funders, so that it gives them a better positioning of who you are. So the PR is not your marketing. So many times people say, well, I have a book, I want to run a PR campaign because I want to sell so many books. The PR campaign will not sell the book. What sells the book is you selling the book, how well the book is, you know, laid out, how many people are, you know, it's a good place to sell a book would be in the bookstore. A PR campaign gives an awareness. So we can do a PR campaign to get people to go to the bookstore so they can meet you to buy the book. But then once they buy the book, it's based on you really interacting with the customer. And I always tell people, I said, that part of us interacting with your customer is really the main thing, that we're just trying to give you as many leads as possible so you can interact with them. Does that make sense?
Jessica? Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Okay, yes, yes. So I always tell people too, when you're doing a PR campaign, to make sure that you're looking at your traffic, your analytics, to see how much traffic comes to your website, because that will be the indicator for that. The other thing is really podcasts. Now podcasts been around for a long, long time. Video podcasts are the major thing because people love to watch. How many people have a podcast? No podcasters?
I wanna start one.
You gotta start one, it's easy.
It might just end up being a YouTube channel though.
Yeah, I mean, podcasting is the way for people to hear your conversation on a regular basis. I started my first podcast on Blog Talk Radio years ago, and that was on the phone. And then it traveled. I even have one on TalkShoe, and then I have one on SoundCloud. The best place to do a podcast now is YouTube. So you do have to be aware of what's going on and to go with the trends, so to speak. Starting a podcast is for people to intimately know you. Even if you don't have a large audience, you have a podcast that's out there that you could share that link to, again, to your prospects, to your funders, to anyone who, if you want to do it solo, that's fine, because obviously you can talk about what you want to talk about. But the best way to do a podcast is to interview those who you want to, quote unquote, meet or network with. So say, for instance, in your industry, you want to meet, I don't know, the top energy people. I don't know who top energy, but you have a podcast and you're interviewing all the energy people that are on your podcast. And you can talk to them about 15 minutes. But if you were to call them up on the phone and say, hey, I want to chat with you for 15 minutes, they'll probably say no. But if you say you're doing a podcast, I'd like to have you on my show, they're more likely to say yes. So think of podcasting, yes, as sharing your expertise, but think of it as a way of networking on steroids. Because they're going to be on their best behavior if they're talking on a podcast with you. And they want you to share it out to other people. The thing about that, when you do have guests on your show, make sure that you do the front end, the bumper at the front and the end, to let people know what it is that you do and who you are, and not all about the other person. Because then I had to tell that to Dr. Geneva as well. She had all these great guests. I said, but you weren't getting customers. I said, because people don't know you. You need to tell them what you do. So when you do a podcast, make sure you do that. And it's just a great way to just repurpose content. Very thing. Speaking, like I said before, those of you who love to speak, raise your hand. Yes. So speaking in your area, whether it's your Rotary Club, whether it's your Chamber of Commerce, have you spoken to your Chamber of Commerce? They're always looking for people. That's part of their job. The person who's over the Chamber of Commerce, they are head of programming, and they need people to speak and to share about business, whatever your expertise is. You will make their job easier. I just had one of my team members, they were contacted by another company to find all of the Chamber of Commerce in Ohio and find their calendars and all that kind of thing, because they want to take their salespeople to all these chambers. That's really it, and to give a presentation. So think of it as a way of you giving a sales presentation without sounding too salesy to a Chamber of Commerce. That is really like what it is. So they paid my team member a lot of money to find all these Chamber of Commerce to go to speak on. So speaking is part of that. When you are speaking, you want to tape yourself, like I'm doing here on TikTok. And I might could use clips of it, that kind of thing for a speaker reel. In order to get a paid, like speaking gigs, the things that are required are, one, obviously your signature talks that you speak on, a speaking reel, and a speaker one sheet. And that's really it. A speaker one sheet has your photo, your bio, testimonial, speaker reel, usually about 2 minutes. And then really, the one sheet is just a PDF. And those are the things that get you booked. The whole thing about, oh, you know, how much will I get paid, that kind of thing. Don't worry about that initially, just get on the stage. Some places, if it has the right audience, and I will say this, if it has the right audience, pay to speak on that stage. That's the thing. Anybody ever heard pay to play? And sometimes if it's your audience, if it's an energy audience or if it's a med tech audience and they have a conference and they say, well, we have a call for speakers, but it's gonna cost each speaker, I don't know, $1,000. If that's your ideal audience, pay to be in front of that audience. It's like you're doing a sales presentation in front of that audience. That happens a lot more than you probably think when you see people that say, oh, I'm speaking at this conference. Well, they probably paid to be on that stage. The other thing is combining all of the things, all of the platforms. This particular client right here, she was on Rising, which is a Charlotte station. I think it's a CW station. She had a brand new book. Books are hooks, so if you don't have a book, get a book. You're easier to book if you have a book in media. So that was her first book, and she was on, and she'd been speaking for a long time, but she really started getting more television and media when she got a book. So it has a ripple effect on all the things. Being in Google, when you are, have your media, whether it's an online magazine, a podcast, television show, all of the things, they make you become what I call Google-licious. So the first thing when people meet you, Google yourself, and you'll see what comes up. But you'll also, when you meet someone, even if you're on a dating situation, people still Google you, because it's like, well, what comes up about this person? You know, are they crazy? Let me check them out, you know. So you want to be Google-licious so that everything that you say about yourself is something that Google will verify. And that only comes from you putting in more information about yourself in Google. The other thing is, she talked about metrics. Some of the things that PR will do, you want to look at, like, what is your metric that you want? Does it increase your social media engagement? Does it increase your speaking inquiries and engagements? Does it help you get clients, which is really the whole point of really doing any kind of marketing, right? Does it increase your revenue? And the main thing that it does it increase your brand recognition? How many, when you Google yourself, if you go under that little tab that says news, you know, there's images, and if it says news, do you have a lot of those mentions in there? And when people do know you and hear about you, just kind of like what you just said, says, oh, you know, your reputation precedes you, I've followed you for years. It gives a level of familiarity that I've heard this person before. I've seen them, I've heard of them. And so it makes it easier to sell to them if you've heard of them. If you've never heard of someone, it's kind of hard because now you got to warm them up. It go from a cold contact to warm, and you know. So this is what PR does. It warms up your audience so that they know more about you, and you're able to fill your programs, sell your events, sell your books, whatever. It's like word of mouth on steroids. That's really, really the whole point of PR. And the last thing, if you want to book a VIP strategy call with me, there's my link there. I love to talk to people. Everybody's situation is different. Someone like Sharon, who has been all over the place, hers is different than maybe, say, Karen, who's on WURD versus Marshawn. You know, all my different clients, they have different things that they are trying to accomplish and do with PR. But PR to me is a magic bullet for answer to a lot of things. It just depends on what you want to do. So that's it. If I have any more questions, yes.
At what stage should an entrepreneur or founder start doing PR, and
Yes,
what should they have in place? Like, what are some things that they should have, especially if they want to use it as a way to generate leads?
Yeah, it's there's a difference of whether when to hire a publicist and when to start doing PR. You should start doing PR as soon as you have established what it is, the clarity of what you want to do, because you want people to know what it is. The thing that, give an example of how early someone should do PR. I've done things in high school. So my daughter was actually graduating from high school in a couple of years. We started her PR campaign. And by the time she graduated, she won 14 scholarships. She was actually featured on BET because we had started her PR campaign. Her campaign in terms of her winning awards. She didn't want to do any of this, right? She was at Optimist Club. She was like a contestant for that. Miss Farmington. She was so as much as it is, her goal at this point was to win scholarships. People don't award scholarships to people they don't know. People don't award money to people they don't know. People don't book you on television if they don't know. So you start as early as you can. Because your brand, if you don't tell your brand, Google will start telling your brand for you. So other people will start writing things about you or tagging you in things. That's part of your brand. You want to control your brand. So as early as you can to do that. When should you hire a publicist? As soon as you can afford it. You know, you can do it yourself or have it done for you. But at the very least, what I've told you are some things that you can do on your own at the very beginning. Social media, taking control of your brand across social media, getting photos. I did a blog post that says PR starts with a good photo. Selfies aren't professional photos. If someone wants to book you to speak and they says, oh, we'd like to put you on our flyer, send us your picture, and you send them a picture of you in a car with the seatbelt on, that is not a good picture. It's like, well, the lighting was good, but you got the seatbelt on too. Okay, at least take the seatbelt
I've
off.
seen it. I was just like, that's the picture?
The seatbelt selfie. Yeah. Me and my photographer friends talking about that. They said, don't do the seatbelt selfie. So I would say starting with the photo shoot. Men, not so much. They can really take a picture and use it for probably 5 years, with or without a beard. Now, if you don't have a beard, now women tend to change their hairstyle a lot, their color and that kind of thing. So they may have to, you know, they may come in with braids and then they not have braids. So they have to have 2 sets of pictures, where the men pretty much, I mean, either you bald, you got hair, you know, that kind of thing. So start with pictures, start with something written. That's why I said a blog is really important, because it's like your container of your thoughts. You're a thought leader, you're a subject matter expert. So show your expertise. If you can't write a book, at least write a blog. Because now when they Google you, they'll see what it is that you speak on. So they want to hear you speak, so you should have some kind of video, or at least podcast, and they want to read what you have, so that's a blog or a book, and they want to see you, so that's where the photos come in. So that's like the beginning of it. When I'm dealing with someone who wants to become a speaker, this young lady here, her career was primarily, Rhonda was in the FBI. So she wasn't really out there in social media posting on Facebook and Instagram, right? So she had to do a photo shoot. That was one of the first things. And she started a blog, she started a website. Those are some of the things that we needed to have her in order to start promoting her. And then she had an event, and now she's working on a book. You know, so she's developing her personal brand versus someone who, you know, Kim Coles, obviously she already has a brand, but sometimes you can align yourself with someone in the industry and their brand becomes part of your brand. This is Dr. Sade. So Dr. Sade did an event called Girl, Your Brand's a Big Deal. You may not know Sade, but you do know Kim Coles. So it shows this strategically how she is aligned with her. So everybody is different, but everybody has a personal brand. Like I said, my daughter, by the time she graduated, she had 14 scholarships. She had been on a couple of newspapers and that kind of thing, but it was strategic to really get people to know her, the right audiences to know her, not just everybody.
I have another question. Have you worked with introverted people and people who don't want to be
All
in
the
the
time.
spotlight?
All
And
the
how
time.
do you get them to want to be out there? Because I know so many people who do not want to be the face of their business. They want to be in the background. They don't want to be the face. So how do you work with those people?
That was Dr. Geneva in a way.
Okay.
She was always behind the scenes.
It doesn't
And-
even seem like it with how she's blown up now.
Oh, no, it
It's
doesn't.
crazy.
It doesn't. But it's a period of time. You have to know where a person feels like what they feel like they're lacking or what they feel like they need the most. So with Dr. Geneva was like, I'm not young like everybody else on TikTok or whatever. I said, well, that's your strength. Because you're not young. You're going to stand out because you are older. And that's going to be the benefit of what it is. So you're going to talk to the elephant in the room. Hey, I'm not a teenager, but I'm on TikTok. And let me tell you something. Let Auntie tell you some things. That kind of thing. You know, it was that kind of vibe. Or being in the pageant. She didn't want to do it. But she did it and she won. And part of it was just training. That's all it is. It's just training. I find that most writers, because I dealt with authors initially, most writers just want to write the book and just say, here's the book, promote it. And I said, the people want to meet the author because they see the author as a celebrity. They want to meet you. They want to talk to you. You have to be on Facebook and all these kind of things. And Stacy, I remember her saying this directly. She says, I'm a novelist. I want to write books. I don't want to meet a lot of people. And she says, because when I write the book, it feels like I'm all into this. And then you want me to do all this. She says, I feel schizophrenic. And I got what she meant because when you're writing, you're in one mode. And now you want me to be out here and do other things. She says, now I feel schizophrenic. And I said, okay, I got what you're saying because you're not an extrovert. You're definitely an introvert. You get your energy from thoughts and that kind of thing. I said, but think of it this way. They love your work. They want to meet you. You are their celebrity. So that is what you have to do. You just have to do it for a while for them to meet you, and then they buy your stuff. She's written like 5 books now. Now she can do it, she can turn it off and turn it on. Because it is not natural for her to want to be out in the public talking about her books. She was like, can't they just read it? No, they're not going to just read it. You have to tell them they want to meet you.
I have a quick question. So, I mean, in this room are founders, and there's always a balance between the founder, amplifying the story of the founder, and then the actual product itself, which, you know, obviously you connect to customers, etc. I'm wondering, I'm just thinking about the recent elections and how the narrative was legacy media is not as effective. So what are your thoughts on the impact and efficacy of legacy media versus the new media for a lot of the startups that are in the room, and what should be the pursuit for us in here?
I feel like legacy media is always going to be here. New media is always going to change.
But how effective though? So yes, legacy is always going to be here, but how effective is it?
So if you have, I was just telling Brittany about this, if you have the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, whatever, the thing of it is that not everybody's going to read it, but they have in their mind, there's a prestige about it. So make sure that if you are mentioned in legacy media, that it is shown on new media as well. Someone wants to join. No, you're not joining.
So can you be selective as well? Like, you can do TV or interviews, but choose not to do TikTok?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you
Pretty
could.
dreadful for some people.
Yeah, definitely. You could choose whichever I'm trying to do. TikTok right now. Okay. Yeah, the Kelsey Russell, who is on TikTok, actually reads legacy media on TikTok. She reads New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all of the magazines, the New Yorker on TikTok. But you don't have to do TikTok. I mean, the thing of it is that when you are in the media, it's vetted by a producer or an editor. They should be abiding by journalistic ethics. So that's why people trust it or have some credibility. Versus if you're just putting something out, just straight out on your own social media, there's no filter for that. You can say whatever. Versus like if it is going to be on a station or in a newspaper or magazine, there are layers of editors that have to have done some type of fact checking. Now, it's not always true. I mean, so people could still say whatever, but there's just more credibility when you're using legacy media versus like new media. But I would say always use both. Amplify. I use social media to amplify the media that I have. So if I have a client that's going to be on a television station, I'm going to make sure that it's on LinkedIn. I have a whole page, pamperrypr.com/PR success, and all of those stories I continually share out into social media, but they've been in different magazines. So
I have one more question. Are there industries where media just doesn't work well, like hard tech, manufacturing, like things like that? Like, have you seen something that just?
I mean, there's media for everything. I mean, I've seen a cannabis magazine. I was like, they have magazines for everything. So manufacturing have their own. I mean, in terms of general media, probably not, but there's specific media for all of them. There's podcasts for all of them. There's some that's crowded. I mean, there's so many leadership podcasts and things like that. So the more specialized you are, the more clear you are about it, the better it is for you to be pitchable. Because now you're not in a whole line of a whole lot of other leadership speakers, women empowerment speakers, it's a lot of those. So if you can kind of break it down into a specialty, that's really like the main thing.
I actually had a question. You said primarily a lot of this PR stuff is for leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
What have you found to have the highest